Hey guys, it's Dee. Uh, so this is going to be almost like a real world example of one of the things that I had forgotten all about, really, until just recently. One of the concepts that we were introduced to when I was going through nutrition in school and on my own when I started this study several years ago was the concept of food deserts. And actually when I read about this at first, I thought it was complete crap. I thought it was complete BS. I was like, no, that's not possible. Anybody can go to the grocery store and buy fresh produce. It's not like we're somehow putting all of the good chain stores in the more affluent areas, and then here I am sitting in one. This is an industrial district. I'm in the back end of, where am I? Fort Worth, I think. I had a few minutes before my next visit, and I thought I'd go ahead and crank this. Sorry, there's a joke there. I'm gonna be nice. There hasn't been a grocery store, a major chain grocery store, in the last 10 miles. And I also have not seen a fast food place that was anything other than like a mom and pop taco or fried chicken kind of thing. So I'm looking at these homes, and this looks like this area was probably built back in the 70s, maybe the early 80s. They're in some need of repair. There's a lot of construction around here. I see some trucking depot over there, some industrial warehouses, but there's a lot of homes here. There's some kids, they're grown, walking around. My client lives nearby, and I know that he is elderly, which tells me that many of the people that live in this area are elderly. And it makes me wonder, where do they get their food? Where, if they're gonna go here at the little quick stop that I pulled in to gas up, there's nothing in there except Slim Jims and chips and cigarettes. There's nothing of value. Whereas you go into a racetrack in the middle of, Dallas, and you can probably find salad or a freshly made sandwich, and some fruit that's relatively fresh. In here, no, there's nothing like that in here. A food desert is exactly that. It is an area, and it's generally of a low income and low socioeconomic clientele, I guess you could call it, or residents, that there is simply a lack of options for healthy food. And I didn't believe it at first until I started making house calls as a nurse practitioner, and I found myself in many, because this is where a lot of my elderly clients live. And they have to rely on others to bring them groceries from other places. They rely on Meals on Wheels. Many of them are shut in. They can't drive anymore. They cannot afford to have the delivery services bring groceries to their house. And it is sad to me to know that I would love to sit and we can talk about diet and nutrition with them and with their families. But then they ask me, well, where am I going to get a lot of this stuff? And I'm like, that's a good question. And so this is often a roadblock that I come across with with my patients. Because if they have heart disease and diabetes or congestive heart failure and they have high blood pressure, and when I look in their cabinets and in their fridge, and most of their diet is processed or quick prep, frozen dinners, and not the healthy kind, because they simply can't afford it. It's the 99-cent budget Black Hawk, the stuff that you can get like 4 or 5 for $1, or it's, soups that are full of sodium. The vegetables, if they have them, that's great. If they've got them, they are frozen or they're canned, and they don't really realize that canned vegetables have a lot of sodium in them. They're in their packaging. And so these are the kinds of things that we have to demystify when it comes to working around what they can afford as a family and as a household. So be mindful about your surroundings. talk to your local government if you can, if you have a mind to. Ask if you can build a community garden. Ask if there's food banks that can be set up nearby at churches or at community centers, if there is one. Ask if the farmer's market could be invited into the neighborhood, once a month or something. Excuse me. And see if that might help. Because that is exactly what they are. And it takes a lot of money to bring a large chain grocery store into a neighborhood. And if they don't think that they're going to make a lot of money off of it, then they're not going to come. But these families need to have the same access to fresh fruit and vegetables as everybody else. So think about that. Be aware. And that is something that we look at. And think of ways, think about where your friends and families live or their parents and see, hey, maybe I could grow, I got some extra seeds from my trimmings. I decided to plant a little garden this year and maybe I can bring them some or plant a little bit in their front garden bed. If they have space, I'm looking at a couple. One has what looks like it used to be a vegetable garden. It's kind of winter right now, so it's grown over and dead, but then there's another area that looks like it could be planted up, and you don't need a whole lot of space. You can drop a few seeds in there and they might have a little bit of something come spring and summer. Just something to think about. The next thing I wanted to bring up was the fact that just as we were talking about these quick prep, highly processed, fast foods, quick prep foods, it comes in a jar, it comes in a can, it comes in a box. If it's frozen, it's very highly processed. These foods are created with one thing in mind, and that is to hook you on it. It's a drug. It is an addiction. The ubiquitous they. Fast food restaurants and fast food chemists and, the food scientists that work in these industries, they know exactly what they're doing. There's a reason that fast food tastes so good. They are not just considered tasty, they're considered super tasty. And that's not my word. There is a term. It's palatable and hyperpalatable. They work in the body just like a drug. They are actually designed, a hyperpalatable food is actually designed to trigger the opioid systems of the brain. It is an enhanced reward system. So it's not just if you're hungry, you have a snack, your brain is satisfied, your body is satisfied, and you move on with life. This one is like you're hungry, you eat ice cream, your brain is super happy. And the next time you're hungry, you don't want the apple, you want the ice cream again, because that's not only satisfied, it's super satisfied. It blew off all the bells and whistles. And these corticotropin releasing factors drive the overeating episodes and the body's want of that stimulus again, just like a drug. It's no different. The brain reacts the same way to the, cheeseburger as it does to the drug. Any drug, street drug, whatever. A lot of people think that that's BS, but I'm going to tell you it's not. Why else would they have Overeaters Anonymous right next to Alcoholics Anonymous and Narcotics Anonymous and Gamblers Anonymous and everything else? They understand that it is actually an addictive substance. They simply don't speak about it as such so much in the media because it would be bad for marketing. And actually, I don't really think of it as that because I think people are smart and they know exactly what it is. Just like I think the person who takes heroin is smart. They know exactly what it is. But I also understand that it's hard to put it down. And that's why it takes work and it takes help and it takes practice, and it's not going to happen overnight. You may not love what the drug does to your body, but you kind of love the drug. And for anyone who's ever been addicted to food, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And when you say, well, no, I'd never be addicted to drugs, I would never take a drug, I would never, drink so much that I drove drunk or whatever. And yet, sometimes we would eat a cheeseburger and cheeseburger and cheeseburger until we made ourselves sick on it. It's really no different. That's okay. Give yourself some grace, give yourself a break, but please recognize it for what it is. And then treat it accordingly. Because it's associated with the dopamine receptor expression. It is a diminished reward pathway, which means that we can actually develop a tolerance to it. And then the next time we need it, it's not as good. Did you ever have that instance where you're craving something and you build yourself up for it, saying, man, I really want to go to this restaurant, I'm going to order this, and this is what I want. And then you get it and you eat it and you're like, it wasn't as good. Those inhibitory controls are removed after a period of time. And the prefrontal cortex responds to it just like it does a drug. And so if you've developed a bit of a tolerance, it is not going to give you the same high. The good news is, if you get off slowly but surely, just like smoking cigarettes, work your way off. I quit a long time ago. That's a funny story though, because I set my hair on fire. Don't tell anybody. And I was like, okay, Lord, I'm done. But if you work yourself off, and then over time your body will start to have those wonderful dopamine sensations from a food that's good for you. I can give an example with my own 10-year-old daughter. She started to see me changing out what I was cooking, and she stopped wanting tacos. And I would make her a taco salad without the meat, and would put beans and make some guacamole and some fresh pico and stuff like that. And she's getting to the point where she wants to get into the kitchen and help me out anyway. And she would ooh and ah over what she had made. And now when she eats the taco, she gets sick, and to the point where sometimes she'll throw up later in the night because her body doesn't want it anymore. So give yourself some grace. Recognize it for what it is. And it's not just a matter of, oh my gosh, why can't I do it? Why can't I stick to it? Because your brain got hardwired to need it. It takes time. Give yourself a break. And I'll see you soon. We're all in this together. Much love. Peace out.